Okay, we are live. So, everybody, thanks for joining us today. If you're listening to this right now, you are an elite member on Flipnerd.com, which between us girls, we actually are eliminating all of our other accounts. So you're either a member or you're not. And if you are a member, you are what we call an elite member. Otherwise, you're just a subscriber. So we have a ton of exclusive content for you elite members. And some of you should know all this. That's why you bought the account. But we have master classes that come out. We have over 12 created already, and we have a new one every month. Those are usually 90-minute to 2-hour kind of training sessions on specific topics. And we have what are called office hours, and that's where we're at today. So this is the first time we've done it live. We used to do them in a webinar format, and so we're kind of waking these office hours back up. And I found a guinea pig to join me today, my pal, Jeff Garner. So
you can guinea pig me on anything, no problem.
Yeah. I feel like I've been a guinea pig most of my life. Like either me or my wallet. I'm like constantly testing stuff and trying stuff and investing in stuff. And so for those of you that are joining, this is just to give you the lay of the land a little bit. Our office hours happen twice a month, typically, and we have a couple different segment types. So one we just refer to as Q&A, which is what today is. So live Q&A. Some of you typed questions in that you sent to our support desk for today, and some of you, if you're listening live and you have a question that you want to ask, go ahead and ask it here, and we'll do our best to answer it. So we have a Q&A, then we have some case studies we're going to go over, and a few things like that, similar to that. So, and we have like a how-to, like how to do something specific, and we'll have different guests every couple of weeks that I'm bringing your way. So specifically today, we're trying to tailor the discussion, if you have questions that you want to ask around getting started or how are you competing in today's market, things. That's where a lot of the questions that came in that we have. So, but hey, before we get started, Jeff, who are you?
I own a Starting Point Real Estate here in St. Louis. We're a wholesale company that we primarily focus all on wholesale. I did a couple years of buy and hold and bought about 110 is what we ended up with when the market was down between 2012, 2015. So we got 110 rentals. Yep. We're doing between 8 and 12 wholesale deals a month here in the St. Louis market, Missouri. Fathered a 8-year-old and 22-year-old. And other than that, I'm working and
recovering realtor.
Recovering realtor. That's right. I'm still a broker by license, but not by profession so much.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I should say, and I know that a lot of people watch this after it's recorded, but if you're watching this right now, tell us where you're from, give us some thumbs up, give us some love. You can't share it because we're inside of a private group, so I don't think you can share it outside of the group. But if you could just let us know you're out there, tell us where you're from, and ask some questions. We'd love to interact with you. So one of the questions we had right out of the gate, Jeff, that I want to talk about is a couple questions around, kind of competing in today's market. We all know it's a different market. Okay. Some people say it's challenging. It always blows my mind that, for some of us that have been around for a while, we think it's really challenging. And then you see some new person that doesn't remember what the market was like a few years ago, and they're just crushing it. And it's just like their mindset's different. Right? They don't remember that other market, so they don't have any complaints right now. Right. But so the question we got was, how do you compete in today's market? So that's a broad question, but considering it's more challenging, like what are you doing differently now than maybe you did in years past?
That is a very broad question. And one of my answers is something that we should all be doing anyway, and that's just have a great sales process.
Yeah.
But honestly, that is new for me because I've always been a natural salesman and a guy who knows a lot about real estate because I've been in it since I was 22 years old as an agent and a broker. And so I always relied on my knowledge and just my natural sales ability. And what makes this market different, in my opinion, is that it's really hot and it's super competitive. And so that's what's made it difficult lately is the competition levels are really high. And if you don't, so we went back through our process and we answer all our phones live. We try to get there to the appointment that day. And we work really hard on our sales training. And there's lots of different sales trainings you can get out there online to make sure that we come out of that appointment with the contract, because the odds of you getting it after you leave that first appointment are pretty slim. So that's what's made us competitive and kind of on top of the game around here. So, yeah, I mean, that's one thing we're doing.
Time kills deals for sure. Yeah, I think, we used to, when I first started in this business like 10 years ago, a lot of people kind of would celebrate the one call close, right? Like I was able to get a contract on the spot. And then I think, that was right when the market was starting to turn down. And I think what some people realized is, man, if they're accepting your offer on the spot, you might have offered too much. Yeah. Because then, follow-up is really critical in this business. A lot of stuff comes back around, but it's a complicated sale too, right? Like a lot of people are not ready to make that decision today. They need to think about it or whatever, but you're right. It's more common than ever for us to go on an appointment and they're like, well, I'm meeting with 8 other people. And it's like, you got to somehow stand out. And I think, trying to get the contract on the spot is definitely going to help you avoid some of the competition. Maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit. Like, what are you doing to get a contract on the spot? Because sometimes people need to talk to a spouse, they need to talk to a sibling, they need to pray, they need to do whatever they need to do, make a decision. What are you doing differently?
Exactly. Well, we try to, first off, there's one piece to that I want to throw in there, and that is knowing your market. If you know your market and the ARV, let's say, in the area that you're going on that appointment, you can confidently make an offer on the spot, knowing you're not paying too much. Yeah. I think a lot of people, what they do is they're newer in the business or they've been around a while, and what they want to do is just get online, look at Zillow, pull some comps, have a realtor send them a few things, go out there and make offers, and they're nervous as heck. Even if they get the offer, they're sitting there. You question yourself, did I pay too much? Why did I get that? But if you know your market, which I do, and that comes from my realtor background, but my guys do too that work for me, you can confidently make an offer. And one of the things that I have them do is drive, and this is not uncommon. It's a pretty common practice to drive your comparable properties beforehand. But I bet you if everyone was honest, I bet you at least 50 or 60% of them would say they probably skipped that part. Yeah, but it makes a huge difference driving your comps when I have all my guys go 30 minutes early. They drive their comps, so when they walk in that house, they know exactly what the value is on it. And I never did a lot of renegotiating. I always tried, my offer is my offer. But we've gotten into where we use our contingency window so that if we did make a little bit of a mistake or paid too much, or we find something after the fact, we can go back and renegotiate. So that protects us a little bit from, maybe we paid a little too much, so we'll use our building inspection contingency to go back and say, look, we apologize. We found some things that are, going to be a little more expensive than we thought. We can't buy your house at that price. And it gives us an opportunity to readjust if necessary.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the importance of setting the expectations that essentially you called me contacted me because you have a house for sale. I'm looking to buy houses. So let's not waste each other's time. Let's, if we make you an offer, then let's do a deal, or let's talk about why that won't work and what will work. Because sometimes people are just like, it's like when you go to the store, and you might go to the store knowing, I don't go into a store. I don't browse, I guess. When I go to a store, I know I'm there to buy something probably, right? Yeah. But when somebody asks, do you need any help? I'm like, oh, no, I'm just looking. Like, just because I don't want to be bothered, Yeah. Unless I have a specific question. But I think a lot of sellers act that way too, right? They're like, well, they just kind of use the old, I'm thinking about it, or not really sure what I'm going to do yet. But maybe talk a little bit about setting that expectation up front for how you can say, if we come meet with you, we're going to make you an offer, and hopefully you can make a decision that day.
Absolutely, and that's part of the initial phone call is we'll try to get a commitment out of them before we come. for one. We try to get a commitment out of them that if we come and we're able to make them a cash offer, are they able to say no? And if it doesn't work for them, and if so, then okay, and most of the time they'll say, yeah, well, we'll tell you no if it doesn't work. Okay, great. So would you be able to say yes if it does? Oh, well, I've got to run it by this person. Okay, all right, great. When is a good time that person can be there as well? And that's a good question that can dig to find out if they are actually able to make a decision on the spot. And ironing all of that out before you get there really will really help you to either A, figure out how you're going to approach it, or B, find the best time to get everybody there. Most people don't do that. They just show up on the appointment and they wing it, and then they get stonewalled at the end when they say, okay, hey, thanks a lot. Now I got to go talk to my 3 siblings that are heirs to the estate. But we'll iron all that out. Okay, so you have 2 siblings. Well, who's the executor of the estate? Well, that's me. Okay, so you're the executor of the estate, so you're able to make a decision on the spot. You're able to make a decision. Now, we can't buy them all, so I'm not saying we're going to work it out. But I can promise you this: if we can't, I'm going to let you know. I'm not going to drag you along. Right. So we don't want to do that to anyone. But if we can and make you a fair cash offer that you agree with, can you make that decision? And a lot of times you can get them to commit before they even get there. So that's kind of off the table. And if not, you can find out what the other people are looking for. Okay, well, you got the 2 siblings. Well, what's most important to them as far as this goes? Are they just wanting the most money? And then you'll get all of their stories. You can formulate your plan before you get there. And a lot of times we don't give them an offer if they can't give us a decision on the spot. We will, tell them something. Well, it's best if everyone's here, or you know what? We'll find out. Well, we won't know till Friday. Well, why Friday? Well, that's because when we're getting together with everyone. Okay, great. Well, you know what? I need to go back anyway to do some more research, now that I've seen the property, so I can decide what best offer absolutely that I can give you, so I can try to get as close to your number as possible. What do you say we meet back over here Friday? And
conveniently.
Yeah, conveniently Friday at 2:30 because you told me you're meeting them at 1. Yeah. And we've even done that with competition. Well, we've got 3 more people coming, and I just can't get them to make a decision. Okay, great. When are they coming? Oh, one comes tomorrow and one comes Friday at 1. Okay. Well, we're going to go back. I don't want to give you an offer now because I want to make sure I can get it as high as possible. What are you doing Friday at 1:30? Oh, well, I'll be here meeting that last guy. Okay, great. And just anything like that. And sometimes we'll get there while the guy's still there, and we'll park right in front of the house and just wait for him to leave. So they see us out there knowing they got someone else waiting. It is competitive, and you have to have whatever edge you can.
Yeah. Do you ever slash the tires?
I've sometimes if they'll give me who's going to be there, we'll go put sugar in their gas tanks before they can even leave. So
that's great. That's good stuff, though, man. Let me ask you this. Because, the more you get people to commit to taking action or all that stuff, like if you have 100 leads and if you just say, how soon can you meet? I'll meet you there. And you don't ask any qualifying questions. So you would go on a higher percentage of your leads as appointments.
I have an interesting situation here. Right. I got my kid's school's calling and I know what it is. I had the babysitter pick him up, take him to the dentist appointment, and they want my permission.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep going without you. So as soon as you're back, we'll pop you back in. Let me see if we can figure this out here.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
Cool.
If you want to step out, Jeff, that's cool.
Give me a split sec. This will take 1 minute.
Yeah, because I can turn your video off, but I can't turn your audio off. So I'll keep talking. So, guys, we're going to keep talking about this topic. So what we're talking about is kind of what's working now. How do you compete in today's market? And so Jeff just shared a lot of that with us. Now let's talk a little bit about what is not working today that did work 2 or 3 years ago. So that was going to be my next question for Jeff. Now, one of those things, I'll go ahead and kind of jump in on it. So is that I think what's happening now is people are much more systems and technology savvy. So if you're not using a CRM, if you're not using whether it's virtual assistants or people to kind of follow up like clockwork, if you're not doing all these things to be more buttoned up operationally than investors have in the past, you're not able to compete with them or with other investors, because especially investors that are starting today, a lot of investors that are starting today are tend to be more savvy, right? So, hey Jeff, we were just talking about the importance of kind of being buttoned up operationally and stuff, because if you go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, or even further back, you've been in the business longer than me. I've been in the business almost 10 years. Like, we were running around with manila folders and legal pads for the first couple of years, and maybe doing some stuff in Excel, right? But that stuff just doesn't fly anymore. Like, you've got to be buttoned up better than your competition, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to be one step ahead of them, thinking one step ahead of them. You can't just think you're going to go throw an offer out there and leave, and they're going to call you back because they like you.
Right.
Yeah.
And the importance is, I think more and more, and of course we're in a mastermind group together, so we talk a lot about systems and operations and tools, and really your team, right? So most of us, anybody that's listening to this call, wants to elevate their game. They want to be a business owner and not self-employed per se, right?
Absolutely.
And so the problem is that's really hard to do in this. It's hard to be self-employed in this business and be effective, because what happens is, like in my business, let's say, we have hundreds and hundreds of probably nearly 1,000 leads that are somewhere in the pipeline of being followed up on. Like, just following up is more than a full-time job. So I can't be rehabbing properties and maybe checking on stuff and having any sort of life whatsoever, and determining my marketing and kind of executing that, doing all these things, and be really good at follow-up, for example. So, and in order to be good at follow-up, you have to have some systems. You have to have a CRM or some process for hitting those people, as often as you can, as often as necessary, to stay on top of them. Otherwise, you call and you're like, you know what, we sold that last week. You're like, okay, well, I was going to call you 2 weeks ago, but I got kind of busy. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's just a more competitive space now.
Exactly. You have to be automated and have systems in place. There's too many things to do to stay competitive that you couldn't. If you hired someone to do every task, you wouldn't make any money, even if you did really a lot of deals. You'd break even. So, but systems, automation with CRMs, having marketing systems in place that run themselves, and then having people to stay on top of them. It has to be balanced out to where, for cost purposes and time purposes. So, like, I just moved one of my acquisitions guys, because I only had 2, in-house to be the lead manager. And now I have one acquisitions guy, but I have a lead manager in-house handling all our leads, setting up appointments, putting them in the CRMs, building our packages with comps and things like that to give to the acquisitions guy. So it cuts a lot of that out from my acquisitions guy having to do that, which is my home buyer, and makes sure that someone is on top of our leads at all times, seconds of the day, night and weekend, and then hand off to the acquisitions guy so he can just run and gun and go and come back with contracts. So that's a CRM and 2 people.
Yep.
Just to get a contract.
Yep.
In follow.
We're pretty buttoned up, like, systems wise, I'd say. There's always room to improve, but I'll say over the last couple of years, honestly, I've used virtual assistants for probably 7 or 8 years. And I used to not allow them. I used to not have VAs to take my calls initially, because they're so valuable that I just don't want to take any risk. And then over the last couple of years, I just got tired of having staff in I still have staff in here for Flipnerd and other things. My house buying business, I was like, man, I think I can just have my VAs do everything, and therefore I don't have to have another admin. Yeah. So, and as people kind of quit, or as I let them go or whatever, I just didn't backfill. I went from 2 admins to 1. I didn't backfill, and then 1 went away, and I was like, I think I can do this with just VAs, which I have a whole bunch of virtual staff. I love them dearly, but I feel like some stuff's probably dropping through the cracks without having a lead manager here, and I'm about to add a lead manager as well.
Yeah,
It's just too important.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And if you can have someone that knows the area, it really helps too. You know? So
somebody to listen. Even like in the past, I would have admins here, and I want them to listen to calls. I mean, I want them to take calls, like they always took calls. And now I'm less worried about them taking the initial call as being more of like quality control. Like, listen to the call that this guy was just on and coach him to get better. Did they say anything to screw anything up? Do we need to call them back and say something different or change them? And just to almost be more managing the whole process versus actually doing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that I never did with virtual, that I really don't do with my virtual staff, is there's nobody to manage them, and I don't have time to really do it that close. I'm not listening to calls to see what they said, or did they say something wrong, or why did they say, oh, we always do our best to pay full market price, or whatever. So that's the missing piece for me. And I think, that's one area where I've got to get buttoned up. And I think, like you said, everybody needs to get more buttoned up on, or advertising costs are generally up for everybody, right? So how do you make sure that those precious assets are being managed, as well as they should be?
The lead is the most important part of the whole business, in my opinion, right now, especially because they're so golden,
Yep. Well, so what else would you say that worked a few years ago? Let's talk about exit strategies a little bit. Like, what are you using different exit strategies now than you did in the past? Like, and I'll kind of give you some examples here. I know that some people are tending to maybe seller finance more because they can basically pay a little bit more for houses because they're making more money over time than they did in the past. Or a lot of, creative financing seems to be getting hotter than maybe it has been in the past. Is there anything that you're doing differently than you have in the past because of the extra competition?
It's really competitive. And so we're having to really sharpen up our systems and our processes and our sales process side. And, but that's on one side of the pendulum. On the other side of the pendulum, it's really easy to sell stuff because it's so hot. So there's not a lot of financing going on for me because I'm basically double closing and assigning everything. I haven't put a lot of energy into financing in a long time because I haven't needed a lot of it, and that's pretty plentiful as well. So I have private bank financing. I have local bank financing, private lenders, and then I use hard money. I don't mind using hard money because everything I do is so fast, and it's so easy. A lot of these guys make it really easy for you nowadays. So, I am diligently combing through the marketing to find out for patterns and why was it dead the first half of the month and it was like a switch turned on the second half. What was going on externally outside? What was going on with our marketing? Was it different keywords being looked at? Why are these leads junk and these leads great? We didn't do anything any different. Just anything I can to squeeze out one more deal, one more lead. So that's really what we focus mainly on, is all of our leads. Selling them is easy. Now, that's really my big thing right now with as far as the competition. And then I do not give much thought to the competition as long as I'm on my game, because as soon as I start giving thought to them, I start focusing more in on beating them instead of what really is invaluable to me is competing with myself, competing within the office, because you're always going to have competition. And as long as you're trying to get better, whatever that mark is, for me, it's how many appointments we went on, what was our close percentage, and how much do we make per deal. If I'm focusing on those and I can get a couple more appointments next month, which produces one more deal, which I made an extra $500 to $1,000 over all my deals over the previous month. If I compete within myself, even if you're starting off, and when you're starting off, you want to just copy off everybody, and you want to just follow the people around as best you can, mentors, coaches, your competitors. But once you start finding out what you're doing that works, and internally competing is, I think, even more important.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I think everybody just needs to get sharper. I mean, you just need to get more buttoned up, and um, so yeah. Hey, one question, another question we had was, what? And this kind of hits home for me because I will say that for many years, I bought houses from other investors. Advertising has always been. I've always bought the most houses from advertising, but when maybe 30% of my deals were from other investors or other sources just found through networking and other things like that. So, and those deals, are critical to your business because they're free. You didn't have to, you had no additional expenses to get those, right? So I think that was where this question comes from is, what is your top free lead strategy? So I guess other than paid advertising, because advertising costs are higher now. So rather than just spend more money, what are your top strategies, or what is your top strategy for finding deals from non-paid sources?
Gosh, three. I got to have three non-paid sources.
Just one.
I'm like, I got to pay for everything these days.
Yeah.
I'd say Facebook. Like,
really?
Okay, so here's one of the things that I decided. And this is probably nothing new, but everybody goes. It seems like everyone knows that buyers are plentiful on social media. That is, if you're going to spend marketing dollars or marketing energy or time, it's best for buyers. Sellers, it generally doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, is that your experience?
Yeah, I don't think, because I don't know how to. I mean, everybody that I have probably bought a house from, or a significant portion of them, has a Facebook account. But how do you find them? You can't say run ads for people that have distressed homes.
Yeah, you have to be very targeted in your marketing for sellers is why. So what I started doing, I thought, you know what? At least I know there's one thing that no one else is doing out there because it's not supposed to work, so I'm going to do it. So every time I buy a house, and I've really slacked the last few weeks, I do a video about a house. And what I do is I try to make it about something really, really unique about the property I'm buying. Like for one example, I bought a house where I tore the whole back of the house off. So I just did a stupid little goofy video where I'm walking up and I pretend I didn't know that the back of the house was ripped off, and I walked in and holy crap, the back of the house is gone. And talked about how I bought this house, and I always give the story of the house, the story of the people I bought it from, and something messed up about it. Another one I did was a condemned, and it was a nightmare. It looked like something out of a horror movie. And the basement had feces and mud halfway up the walls from flooding. And I guess some teenagers had got in there and they goofed around. And so they had taken their hands with some of the mud and smeared it down the walls of the stairwell where it looked like, like something out of a horror flick, like people were trying to escape or something. They wrote stuff with it. And so I did a little video like, hey, I bought this house. It was condemned. It was such a good deal that I haven't even been in it yet. And I walked in and I'm like, holy cow. And I do just goofy stuff to where it's not like a sales pitch, but it's like, it shows like, look, if your house is falling down and I got to tear it apart, I'll buy it. If it's condemned and there's ghosts in it, I'll buy it. I did one stupid one last week to where it's like gumballs. We love gumballs. If you have so many gumballs, sweet gum trees in your yard that they're falling on your roof and weighing down your roof, that's okay because we'll buy that. And I looked behind me and we had a roof that was going like this over the carport, and it had piles of sweet gumballs on top. So it's just goofy little stuff like that.
And what do you do with those? You just post them on your profile and people find it?
I just go live, and then people will be like, "My aunt's got a house, just died 3 years ago," and I get probably a deal every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why. It just no one else is doing it, so I figured I would do it. So that has been a really good little free source for me. And then whenever we close a deal with those sellers, so here's another example. I'll be in front of a house and I'll be like, "Hey, I just bought this house today. I'm so happy I got to help Wilmer. He's moving into this nursing home. Great guy. Look at this fishing pole collection he's got down here. Really good guy, really good people, and so I'm really happy I got to help them out. And and show the fishing pole, I'll say, I'm going to help them have an estate sale and we're going to move them out. So I'll talk about the people and either a unique situation with the house or how we helped someone by doing that.
Yeah.
And then I will occasionally get response. I always get lots of views and likes and stuff. And then I'll get responses with people who say stuff like, oh, that was really nice. That was really cool. You know what? My aunt or my uncle or my mom, or we've got this old rental that's coming up. You know, you think you could help us out too? So I don't know how to find them. All I know is I can do something that if I do something that makes them want to watch, like everything, there's something about everything that you could do that with, especially when you're buying distressed property.
Yeah.
There's so many stories there. So that's just one little thing that I do that helps. And then realtors, obviously, talk to every realtor I can. Hey, I don't want you to send me everything you can find on the MLS. I don't need you bombing me with MLS listings. What I want you to do is when you go to look at a house and you walk in and you go, oh crap, how am I going to, list this, or how am I going to tell them to do all this work? Make yourself a rock star and say, you know what, this house is perfect, and I think I have a buyer for you right now. We might not even have to put the sign in the yard, stuff like that. Those are, I'd say, my top 2 free.
Yeah, that's great. That's good stuff, man. And truthfully, when I look back over all the time I've been doing this, there's no doubt that I found more deals from non-advertising when, like right now, we create a lot of content on Flipnerd. We create a lot of videos. We do a lot of shows and stuff like that. But that's not in Dallas. That's, nationwide. And when I used to spend this equivalent amount of time, at RIA clubs or networking events or out meeting people or whatever. When I was doing that hustle, it's just a different kind of hustle for me now. Like I'm doing this more online. But when I did it out in my market, and I used to do these little rehab seminars, people to come watch us rehab a house. You meet people that way. There's no doubt that every once in a while somebody called up and say, "Hey, I met you at this house you were rehabbing. I call it a rehab live. I met you at this rehab live over in Irving, and you know what? You were dealing with a burnout, and I just found this burnout that this guy needs to sell right away." And like, okay, so all that activity, I guess what you're saying is, when you're out there and you're active, there's this kind of saying that activity equals productivity. So, I'm not going to screw this other saying up, but there's something where luck is where kind of opportunity and hard work meets, right? So you have more opportunities for stuff to fall in your lap when you're out hustling and meeting people.
Yeah, and you've learned this too a long time ago, and I did too. It's like, people new to the business, I said, I always tell them you need to make yourself the real estate guy. Whatever you're doing, people need to go, hey, remember that, what was his name? Jeff, maybe he's the guy who buys houses. You have to be that guy. That has to be your, who you are. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get into, if it was cars, you need to be the car guy. People need to know you as that. So when people see me, they know I'm the guy who buys houses.
Right.
They don't think of me as, boy, call Jeff. He's got all the great deals. I haven't really, because I've got a great list and I have people building that list for me. And so I focus on the seller side.
Yeah.
If I want them to say, hey, God, who's that guy that was on Facebook that was in that super scary condemned house, shitty house? I can't believe he even walked in that thing. He'll buy it. So. And
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So that's what you need. I need leads. So I'm the guy who buys houses. We're the company who buys every house you can think of, from brand new houses to caved in houses. That's what I need people to know me as, because I pay a lot for those leads, and everyone I can get for free is just cherry on top.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, Jeff, thanks for spending time with us today, my friend.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we worked out this stuff.
Yeah, nobody knows that we had some technology snafus here, but hey, it's not a big deal. I will tell everybody that's listening. This is we were doing the office hours for a long time, and then took a couple of month kind of hiatus here. And when we came back, we decided to do them live. So this is the first of what's going to happen every 2 weeks, twice a month from now on. But I will tell you, we're going to have a page up soon where you can actually ask questions instead of sending them to our support desk. But for right now, if you have questions you want us to ask or talk about on another upcoming office hours, send a message to support@flipnerd.com and then just say, hey, this is a question for office hours. And by the way, if you aren't familiar, you can go to flipnerd.com/lab. As an elite member, that's all the exclusive content that you get there. So if you're not an elite member, people don't get access to the master classes, the office hours, and all those things. And you'll see we have a ton of content there that is exclusive to you. So we'll put this recording there in the next couple of days. If you're watching it on Facebook, of course, you can just watch it here. But Jeff, good to see you. Thanks for sharing your insights. There's some good nuggets in here today.
Awesome, man. I'm glad I could help, and I appreciate you having me on again, man. Have me on anytime. What group are you in at CG this year? I forget.
I'm still in group 2.
Okay, I'm 1.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you.
I just sent out a message to some folks today. We're Jeff and I are in a mastermind group together. It's called Collective Genius, and it's kind of the highest caliber real estate investing group. So if you have any interest, I'm trying to help Jason recruit some new rock stars. So
yeah,
go to flipnerd.com/CG for Collective Genius, but flipnerd.com/CG, and it'll take you over there, and you can learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the group. But I just booked my flight and stuff, so it's been kind of hot on my mind. I'm excited to see you there, Jeff.
Yeah, man. And that for everyone who goes to that link and you join and come to CG, Mike will buy you lunch. So
for sure. Because Jeff's buying mine, so I got to buy it for somebody else.
Yeah, I had to bribe him to even get on the show. So
cool, man. Well, Jeff, thanks again, and everybody, thanks for joining us today. And keep your eye on some of our emails and in the events area here within this group. And we'll let you know about the next office hours event coming up. So everybody, hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.